Welcome, everyone, to this deep dive. It's brought to you by Forest Hill Real Estate, the Distinction branch right here in London, Ontario.
That's right.
And today, well, this is really for you if you're thinking about buying, selling, or maybe investing in the London and St. Thomas area. We want to give you a clear picture of what's happening right now. And hey, for even more expert info, you can always check out www.foresthilldistinction.com.
Good resource there.
Definitely. So our mission today, we're going to dig into the latest market report. That's the April 2025 data from the London and St. Thomas Association of Realtors, or LSTAR.
Yep, the April numbers just came out.
And we want to pull out the really important bits, the insights that can help you make, smarter decisions. There's definitely some economic uncertainty floating around, but locally, we're seeing some interesting, even positive trends.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not all doom and gloom. So looking at that LSTAR report for April, one of the big things jumping out is actually more choice for buyers.
More choice. Okay, how so?
Well, sales in April were down a bit compared to last year, about 653 sales. So that's a 14.3% decrease.
Okay.
And new listings were also down. Just over 1,500 came on the market, which is about 10% lower than last April.
Right, so fewer sales, fewer new listings.
But then this is the key part. The active listings, the total number of homes actually for sale at the end of the month, that shot up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, almost 2,900 active listings. That's nearly a 20% increase compared to last year.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
20% more homes to look at. That's significant for buyers.
It really is. It means less pressure, maybe. More time to look around, find the right fit.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And is that trend holding? Like, if we look at the year so far?
Pretty much, yeah. Year to date, sales are down overall about 2,100 so far, which is a drop of around 19%.
Okay.
New listings for the year are actually up slightly, about 1.5%, bringing the total to roughly 5,200.
Just a small bump then.
Right. But again, the active listings inventory, looking year-to-date average, is substantially higher. We're seeing an average of over 2,400 homes actively listed. That's up 22.5% compared to this point last year.
So that theme of increased inventory, more buyer choice, that's really consistent then.
Exactly. It's probably the main story on the supply side right now in London and St. Thomas.
Okay, super interesting. Now, the big question everyone always asks, prices. What happened with home prices in April? Did they drop with fewer sales?
That's another interesting point. Despite fewer sales and more inventory, the average price held pretty steady.
Really?
Yeah, the average sale price in April was $654,000. That's only down 0.5% from April 2024. Very slight decrease.
Huh. So relatively stable. That suggests some resilience in the market, doesn't it?
It does. It suggests that while activity might be cooler, values aren't necessarily plummeting. There's still underlying demand, or perhaps sellers are holding firm.
Right. Stable prices, more choice.
Yeah.
So that actually sounds like a pretty decent scenario if you're looking to buy.
It could be, yeah. Now, the report also breaks down average prices by area, which can vary quite a bit.
Ah, yes. Good point. Can you give us a few highlights there, just a snapshot?
Sure. So for April's average prices, let's see. Central Elgin was around 641,000.
Okay.
London East, typically more affordable, averaged 514,000. London North was higher, around 725,000, and London South, 684,000.
And the surrounding areas.
Right. Middlesex Center saw a higher average, 941,000. That often reflects larger properties, maybe more land.
Gotcha.
St. Thomas averaged 575,000, and Strathroy-Caradoc was about 682,000.
Okay, so quite a range depending on where you're looking. Useful context. Now, the report also mentions the HPI benchmark price. Can you quickly explain what that is?
Yeah, the MLS Home Price Index, or HPI benchmark price, think of it as the value of a typical home in an area. It tries to smooth out fluctuations you might get with average prices, which can be skewed by a few very high or low sales.
Right, so it tracks a typical property. What did the benchmark numbers show for April?
Okay, so the overall benchmark for the entire LSTAR region was 589,000.
All right.
What's quite interesting here is the stability in townhouses. Their benchmark price was steady at 489,000.
Stable. Okay.
And even more notably, the benchmark price for apartments actually increased. It went up to 394,000.
Oh, wow. Apartments went up. What does that suggest?
Well, it could point towards, stronger demand in that more affordable segment, maybe first-time buyers or people downsizing or active there. It's definitely good news if you own an apartment or are looking in that category.
Interesting. So stability in townhouses, growth in apartments.
Yeah.
What about single-family homes?
For other segments, we saw slight decreases in the benchmark. The overall composite benchmark dipped a bit. Single-family homes, specifically, their benchmark was 641,000.
Okay.
And one-story homes were benchmarked at 583,000, while two-story homes came in at 689,000, all showing slight softening compared to apartments.
It's a bit of a mixed bag on the benchmark front, but definite strength in the apartment sector.
Exactly.
Okay, let's try and wrap this up with some takeaways. If you're a buyer listening right now, what's the main message from this April data?
I think the biggest thing for buyers is that increased choice. Those higher active listings mean you likely have more properties to compare, potentially a bit more negotiating room, maybe less pressure to make snap decisions.
Right, more breathing room.
Yeah. And the fact that prices are relatively stable, with benchmark prices even decreasing slightly in some detached categories, might present some good opportunities.
Okay, sounds positive for buyers. What about sellers? What should they be thinking?
Well, for sellers, it's important to be realistic, especially if you're selling, say, a detached single-family home where benchmark prices have softened a touch. Pricing correctly is key in a market with more competition.
Strategic pricing.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, if you're selling an apartment or even a townhouse, the benchmark data suggests those segments are holding up well, maybe even showing strength. So that's a potential advantage. Know your specific market segment.
Good advice. Understand the nuances. Okay, so to quickly summarize, the April 2025 LS Star report for London and St. Thomas really points to a market with, well, significantly more homes for sale, giving buyers more options.
Yeah.
And average prices are holding relatively steady, while benchmark prices show some interesting variations, notably strength in apartments.
Yeah, that sums it up well. Despite, the wider economic chatter, our local market has these pockets of stability, and especially for buyers, that increased inventory is a key feature right now.
Absolutely. So some encouraging signs locally. And remember, if you want to dive even deeper or get specific advice, you can always visit www.foresthilldistinction.com.
Great place for more info.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. With this noticeable increase in active listings, this wider selection of homes, how could that empower your next real estate decision here in the London and St. Thomas area? Something to think about. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.